Hi. So when we're thinking about the impact of internationalisation on the different functional areas, it's often a good idea to think about, well, how do we measure the performance in this functional area? So just take a second, pause the video and write down as many ways as you can remember that we can judge the performance of the operational functional area. Hopefully you will have come up with at least a few of these. Looking at unit cost, labour productivity, capacity and capacity utilisation, the quality of products, the speed of response, the lead time that we're able to do. All of these are measures that we might choose to see how effective our operations is. And what we want to think about is how is going to be operating, maybe undertaking the production process in a range of different countries. How will that affect our company if we're doing those? How will that affect these performance measures? So, doing some research online, I found an article about outsourcing, and these were the concerns that the company had about outsourcing. Of course, outsourcing isn't when you're actually doing the production yourself, but often companies will outsource to a producer in another country to take advantage of cheaper production costs. Well, the number one concern was quality. The actual quality of the products that are produced by a supplier. Issue number two was the security of intellectual property and the loss of internal knowledge, and I guess that's related to point three, the risk of counterfeiting. When we're asking somebody to produce something for us, we're telling them the specifications by which we're producing that product, or maybe we're telling them the processes that we use to get that product just right. And that can be an issue for some companies. Maybe they're losing production secrets that they don't want to lose, giving their rivals essentially a competitive advantage. And of course, delays and lead time can occur as well. If we're outsourcing to manufacturers on the other side of the world, sometimes, through no sort of fault of anyone's, there are delays in shipping and so on. So, some other common operational issues, maybe when we're actually undertaking the production overseas ourselves rather than outsourcing it. Well, do we need to change the production process? If we're opening a new factory overseas, will we use the opportunity to increase capital intensity, invest in new production processes, new machinery and technology? What effect is that going to have on our workers? What training will they need? There could be reduced control. So maybe if we're just used to one, say, UK-based factory, we're able to monitor production schedules, we're able to monitor quality, but across different time zones and cultures, this can become an issue, particularly if we've got a really complex product that we're manufacturing. Like lots of car manufacturers will produce different components in different places and then they all come together. Trying to manage that can be extremely difficult logistically and requires a lot of kind of IT and planning. Deciding actually what to produce. So, businesses are a big reason for internationalisation and moving abroad and selling abroad and producing abroad is to achieve economies of scale through producing a single standardised product. But, that we've seen from Bartlett and Goschel's model, that single standardised product won't necessarily work in every market. So businesses need to decide, what are we actually going to produce? And finally, there's the big operational decision of where actually we're going to locate production. If, we're manufacturing overseas to ship back to the UK, is it acceptable to have a lead time of 3 weeks or whatever it is, or does it need to be quicker? We need to think about suppliers, we need to think about our customers, we need to think about the infrastructure in the environment. What are the roads like here? Where's the closest airport? If we're going to be shipping the goods, how close are we to the coast? Alongside everything about local cultures, customs and laws. So, operating abroad can have massive implications for the operations department. And I mean, this could fall into kind of brand image marketing as well, but lots of ethics to be concerned with operating abroad. There's a few issues with Primark, messages found in Primark trousers, awful collapse of a building in which Primark clothes were being produced, Apple failing to protect Chinese factory workers, some workers producing iPhones working in really terrible conditions were found a few years ago, and multinationals blacklisted for pollution, so Pepsi Cola, Samsung, 3M, GM, 100 multinational companies updated on a blacklist of water producers. This was quite common, multinationals not really operating in a way that they could do in their home markets and taking advantage of, say, lax environmental laws abroad. So lots of ethical considerations